radio enthusiasts. Welcome to another video about early radio from the Roaring Twenties Antique Radio Museum. This video tells the story of two brothers, Sennett and J. Gilfillan. In 1912, Sennett W. Gilfillan bought his uncle's smelting company located at 161 North Spring Street in Los Angeles. Sennett then asked his brother Jay to join him in running the company. 2 years later, in 1914, the brothers decided to change the name of the company to Gilfillan Brothers Smelting and Refining Company. In 1916, the brothers built a new plant on the corner of 11th and Wall Street. The company had grown to 125 employees and produced parts for automobiles, telephones, refrigerators, aircraft, and bakelite parts for radios. The Gilfillan brothers had a license to manufacture bakelite parts from the General Bakelite Company of New York. That same year, the company also opened branch offices in Kansas City and New York. On June 10, 1917, the company was incorporated with Sennett Gilfillan as president, Jay as vice president, and a woman named A.W. Klausman as secretary-treasurer. 8 months later, Sennett married Edna Miles in Los Angeles. Sennett's brother Jay married a woman named Ina Gubler, but no information could be found on their marriage date. They had a daughter, Mary, born in 1922, so they likely married in 1921 or 22. The company underwent a reorganization in 1921, and the company's name was changed to Gilfillan Brothers Incorporated. After the reorganization, the company would move to 1815 West 16th Street in Los Angeles. 1923 would mark the first year the Gilfillan brothers would manufacture and build a radio for sale under their own name, the R475 Crystal Receiver, which sold for $5. The brothers wanted to build and sell their own tube radios without the problems associated with violating patents. To solve that problem, the company bought a majority stake in Radio Services Laboratories, or RSL, located in Asbury Park, New Jersey. RSL was a small company, but it has a Hazeltine patent which solved the Gilfillans' patent problem. The founder of RSL, Harold M. Lewis, was a radio engineer who had served in the Army Signal Corps. Lewis would stay with the company until 1925. In September of 1924, Gilfillan would come out with the GN2, a 5-tube TRF or tuned radio frequency receiver with Neutrodyne circuit. The radio carried a hefty $140 price tag, which was a lot of money in 1924. It was a good year for the Gilfillan brothers as the company had over $410,000 in sales. Not much by today's standards, but a fair amount of money in 1924. The following year, the company would bring out the 4-tube GN3 receiver. In 1927, RCA began asserting its patent rights and Gilfillan Brothers would become a target. After pressuring Gilfillan Brothers for some time, Sennett Gilfillan hopped a train east to meet with RCA. He arrived at RCA and demanded to see the man in charge, which happened to be David Sarnoff. Sarnoff kept Sennett cooling his heels for hours, which didn't help Gilfillan's disposition. Finally, late that afternoon, Sarnoff agreed to meet with him. Gilfillan yelled at Sarnoff, "You're not going to put me out of business." Sarnoff was taken aback at first, but thought Sennett had a lot of moxie to come across the country to chew him out. Sarnoff invited Gilfillan into his office to cool him down. Sarnoff told Gilfillan that he didn't care what Gilfillan did out west. He just didn't like Gilfillan's Kansas City plant. He offered to give Gilfillan an RCA license for all 11 western states if he just closed the Kansas City plant. Sennett Gilfillan was a good businessman and he knew a good deal when he saw one. He immediately agreed to the deal, and shortly afterward, the Kansas City plant was closed, and Gilfillan was in full control of radio manufacturing in the West. From the mid-1920s into the early 1930s, the company would make everything from radio parts to complete radios for many companies. The list is a long one that included Continental Radio Company, Packard Bell, Remler, Western Auto, Sears, Rolla, and many others. The Gilfillan Company had the only RCA license in the western United States and would license any company that would have Gilfillan build at least part of its chassis. That gave it control over a large part of the business out west and allowed the company to survive the Great Depression. The arrival of super heterodyne radio in the very early 30s made Gilfillan's Hazeltine license worthless. The company needed to get a license to build superhet radios, and they did it by purchasing the Willard Radio Company. Willard had a license and a line of superhet radios. Gilfillan would bring the Model 5 superhet to market in 1932. Pictured here is the 1934 Model 5 receiver. Gilfillan Brothers' future would not be in radio, however. In 1942, the company was contracted to build a precision approach radar system developed by MIT Radiation Laboratory. The company later developed and built an airport surveillance radar, which showed all the air traffic around an airport. The Gilfillan Brothers' success in radar changed the company's future from radio to radar. The company changed its name to Gilfillan Radar Development and Manufacturing Company. In 1964, the company was purchased by ITT, becoming a division of that company. By the 1970s, the company was the leading manufacturer of medium-range radars in the United States. Senator Gilfillan passed away on March 5, 1961, at age 71. His wife Edna died on November 28, 1972. She was 79 years old. They had one child, Virginia, who died in 1964 at the age of 44. J. Gilfillan died on January 18, 1973 at the age of 81. His wife Ina died on May 1, 1997. She was 98 years old. They had two children, Mary and Jay Jr. Although Sennett and J. Gilfillan are long gone, the company they founded 110 years ago is still around today in Van Nuys, California. The company's name has changed, but it still carries the family name. ITT Gilfillan is part of ITT's Defense Aerospace Division. That's it for this video. There will be more to come as we continue to investigate the early history of the world's first mass medium, radio. Thanks for watching.